Hello and welcome back to another episode of Into the 99, where we've got 99 cards because Commander's number one. I am one of your hosts, Daniel. I'm joined today with Thunder. Thunder, for the second time, how are you doing?
I'm doing well on this warm evening in Germany.
That's fair. Yeah, we had some stream problems. We're trying to stream this one. We haven't done a live brew stream in a little while, so I'm happy we'll be getting back to it. It's like I was saying the first time when it wasn't working. It's really warm here, so I am dying. It's 31 degrees. You said that it's 26 in the middle of the night. We've got you up late recording, so we'll jump kind of right into a little bit of our list and get to it. Basically, the long story short of it is I bought all the Calamity boxes because you showed me the Calamity boxes in the chat, and it cost me a bunch of money because I was like, well, I have to have these. So as soon as I got them, I was like, well, now I need to brew the Calamity Beast, right? Like, what's the point of having the nice, fancy, like, Calamity Beast Dex box without the Calamity Beast? So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
we've decided that we've got to build Ygra. So that'll be our first one we're building of this one. You and I are gonna do a little bit of building with both of them. But it was you that kind of suggested Ygra be our starting point and jumping off point. So I'll let you take the commander away and then tell us a little bit about what your thoughts on it were. Like why did you choose this one and what kind of direction were you thinking of going? So
Sure. Okay. Well, I'll start by reading the card. So, Ygra, Eater of All, is a Golgari commander. So, three generic black and a green. Elemental Cat. And it is a 6/6, so quite a big body for 5 mana. And it has Ward, Sacrifice of Food. And its first ability is other creatures are food artifacts in addition to their other types, and have pay 2, tap, sacrifice this permanent. You gain 3 life. So basically, it makes other creatures on the battlefield into food artifacts. So that's fairly important. And then the second ability is what intrigued me the most here is whenever a food is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, put 2+1/+1 counters on Ygra, Eater of All. So that means food anywhere. Opponent's battlefield, your battlefield. And because essentially all creatures other than Ygra are food artifacts, your opponents could sacrifice their creatures for gaining life. Um, and if they wanted to target Ygra, they would potentially be able to sacrifice their own creatures to be able to target. So the consequence, obviously, is then Ygra gets bigger. So we're dealing with lots of +1/+1 counters. We're dealing with gaining life and making lots of creatures into artifacts. One little caveat here is that food is not a creature type, it's an artifact type. So if anyone's thinking of any weird shenanigans around that, they just need to keep that in mind. It's not like you can make a changeling that has a food type, but it probably doesn't matter because as long as Ygra is on the battlefield, then all your changelings are going to be food artifacts as well. And this goes for token creatures or non-token creatures. They're all food.
which makes
So
sense,
yeah,
yeah. Uh,
yeah.
the commander, I traditionally just don't really build with a lot of removal, but turning everything into artifacts except us lets us like blast the board for like mass removal and artifacts without worrying about our commander and gives us one shot potential, like pretty aggressive one shot potential.
This is true. And I was doing a bunch of research around this, trying to see which is a good set of directions to go with this. The one thing I considered was, and maybe it's like a maybe not the right direction to go, but it's a very popular commander for any situation where artifacts are coming into play. Manglehorn. So
Let's get a Manglehorn in the list,
yeah,
and we'll start our initial category off with artifact hate.
Yeah. So I don't know if we want to put all of those in. When I did my Scryfall searches, I came up with only four possible cards, which is enough to go into that strategy slot. But the problem is here that most of them are all things, like all creatures, all permanents, whatever, come in tapped. But what they do is um, they slow your opponents down. So the thinking is um, when they're playing their creature's coming in as an artifact, it comes in tapped. They can't immediately sacrifice the creature. That gives us an opportunity to do something about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm not sure that's the right approach because actually we want our opponents to sack their creature. Their creature will have summoning sickness anyways, so generally they can't just tap it and sacrifice it straight away. So I was not so sold on it. I mean, the Manglehorn is better because I think it's just your opponents, so it doesn't affect you. But I think the other ones is not so great. So just Manglehorn's probably fine.
The thing I like about the Manglehorn is it becomes a piece of removal with our commander out, right?
Yes.
Um, I want to add a creeping corrosion into this list right away because that is a one-shot potential board wipe for us. Creeping corrosion is 2 double green. It's destroy all artifacts. So if we can destroy all our artifacts whenever any food is put into the graveyard, that's 2 counters on Ygra. That's
Yeah.
a one-shot kill when we wipe the field.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's important to remember that Ygra makes other creatures food artifacts.
Yeah,
So
Ygra
yeah,
itself is safe from the. I'm gonna put that into our artifact hate category.
yeah, I did put creeping corrosion in my nice to have cards. Um, Another one that I was considering as well along those lines is Steel Hellkite because I mean it's already an artifact creature, but um, what's nice about it is it's a flyer. Ygra doesn't have reach, so having flyers makes sense. Steel Hellkite is a 6 generic for a 5/5 flyer. It's a artifact creature dragon. You can pay 2 and it gets +1/+0 until end of turn. So it can get big in the air and do quite a bit of damage. But its second ability is the key here. So um, when it's going to deal combat damage to a player, you can um, pay X, destroy each non land permanent with mana value X whose controller was dealt combat damage by Steel Hellkite this turn. Activate only once each turn. So my thinking is um, maybe your opponents are playing in a particular set of mana values like twos and threes, and you swing in with your Steel Hellkite and you blow up all their non-land permanents, and you can kind of get the same effect and do some damage at the same time.
I like it. Definitely a solid one. Let's add let's add a few pieces of ramp into here first. Let's get a I like a cultivate.
Sure. Yeah, I usually throw out Cultivates and Kodama's Reach.
Yeah, I think they're just generally not horrible. Pieces of ramp, both
Yeah,
basically doing the same kind of thing. Let's move that over into our ramp. I don't think we want to go too heavy into artifact ramp this time because we have so much potential to blow artifacts off the board, right?
exactly.
So I think raw ramp might be nice.
Yeah, I think that
And Kodama's reach as well.
there's actually quite a few interesting food related ramps that have become available.
Okay.
The first is a Old Faithful, Gilded Goose.
Oh, I
So
love Gilded Goose.
yeah, one green for a 0/2 flyer. When it enters, create a food token. You can pay 1 and a green, tap it to create a food token, and you can also tap it to and sacrifice food to add 1 mana of any color.
I like this. We
Yeah.
have a lot of potential life gain by turning everything into food, right?
Yes, yes. So I don't know if there's any like pay life type synergies that I was particularly interested in. I kind of just saw it as if we're going to gain life, it's incidental and it's going to make us harder to deal with, which makes it easier for Ygra to just turn at our opponents and deal damage to their face. Um, Another interesting ramp that I think works better with the foods here is Knight of the Sweet's Revenge. It's
Okay.
one of my favorite cards from the new Eldraine. Well, when I say new, last year, but yeah. So it's 3 and a green for an enchantment. When Knight of the Sweet's Revenge enters the battlefield, create a food token. And then its key ability is foods you control have tap, add a green mana. So basically, turn all your foods into mana production.
Uh,
And then its last
I was gonna
ability.
I was gonna say I've never used its last ability. I've never even read it. I have it in a few decks that run food, but that last ability is powerful.
Oh yes. So the last ability is a bit expensive, but it should be fine because we're probably going to be putting out a lot of things that can essentially ramp us. So 5 generic and 2 green. Sacrifice Knights of the Sweet's Revenge. Creatures you control get +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the number of foods you control. Activate only as a sorcery. So it's very good at buffing your whole board. Um, you'll see very quickly with Ygra, you actually do want to have a good amount of creature token creation as well. And there's actually some very interesting ones, which I'll bring up later. But you're definitely going to need to get big. And this is one of those situations where you can go wide and get big as well. This in partnership with something like and this is another one of my very sort of pet cards. It kind of goes into anything where you're going to go wide. Is the Dragon Throne of Tarkir?
Okay. Oh, so we can throw it on our giant commander and
Oh yes, he gets real big, and he then makes everything big. And the key with the throne is it gives things trample.
that's pretty good. Let's if we're gonna go with some tokens, let's get a Belladross in there. Belladross is 5, 1 black, 1 green. It's an Elder Dragon 4/4 flyer, which again gives us a little bit of that flying. Beginning of each upkeep, you create a 1/1 black and green pest token with when it dies, you gain a life, which pays a little bit into our life gain synergy. We pay 10 life, untap all lands you control, activate only once each turn, and being able to sacrifice those foods for that 3 life. That 3 life is a big gain, right? So we're not really hurting ourselves to throw that away. I think Belladross is good for both token creation and life, and it's not whenever other people's foods, right? So if we're throwing it away to buff our own things, we're still making a Ygra bigger. Let's put that into token strategy.
Yep.
Do we want to token generators? Do we want to add in hmm maybe a tender shoot? I know tender shoot's a little pricey, but
Hmm.
is tender shoot pricey right now? I say that, but I feel like it always goes down. It's $5. I feel like that's not too bad. Tender shoot is 4 and a green with ascend. At the beginning of each upkeep, you create a 1/1 green sapling food token. Yeah, it would be a food token. And saplings you control get 2/2 as long as they have the city's blessing. So another
Yeah.
potential to throw things away here.
Yeah.
Let's
I
add.
think it's I think it's reasonable, but it might not be as effective as some of the other token creation. Um, and because it's like only buffing the saprolings, it might be a little bit of anti synergy. But maybe it's still okay because it's repetitive, right?
Well, it's just giving us more foods to be throwing away and gain some life with. I'm just going to quickly throw 15 of each land in here, and we'll work on our land base after. I'll throw 15 and evolving a terramorphic. Can't spell today. There we go. Terramorphic expanse, and then maybe a. What do we want for our final land? I'm just throwing 33 in to start it off.
There's actually quite a few very interesting lands, um, and some of it is like we actually are interested in lands that make creature tokens.
Yep.
There's not that many in Golgari colors. I think one that's very interesting is Barad-dûr from the Lord of the Rings.
How do you spell that one?
So Barad and then
Oh, yeah, I found it right there. Yeah.
Dur.
Barad-dûr. When it enters taps unless you control legendary creature. Taps for black, double X and a black, amass X orcs. Activate only if creature dies this turn. That's great.
Yeah. So if you can turn your land base into um, a means to give you extra spells or creatures, then I think it works very well with the commander. What I was thinking around the lands is we've got these MDFC cards,
Yep.
and some of them do some recovery for us, or they're just a land. So things like Balaged Recovery, which can return a permanent back to our hand, or it's a land. Um, that's fairly useful. Let me just find my
So let's put that into a recursion pile here.
yeah. So what I was thinking with this is that if we if we're careful, we could put like 31 lands in the deck, and then four of them are these MDFC lands. It's a
Okay.
bit greedy, but I think it'll be okay because we if we put a bit of extra ramp and stuff like land ramp and make our tokens produce mana ramp, then I think it'll be all right. I think it'll work out.
Okay, so we'll put that there in our recursion. Let's get we kind of jumped away from it. I want to get the mass artifact wipes out of the way. So there's another one, the sorcery, Seeds of Innocence. It's destroy all artifacts that can't be regenerated. The controller of each of those artifacts gain life to their mana value. I think it's a less salty board wipe. It still gives
Okay.
them something there, but we can still one shot with that. That's an expensive card, but it's going on the list into artifact hate.
Yeah, I haven't heard of that one.
It's like $13.
Yeah, I do have some interesting other ideas around the removal. So sometimes, like I was thinking, maybe not all these kind of blow all the artifact up things, but repeatable removal.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you try and board wipe, people in response might just sacrifice their stuff, and then you still get the benefits of that, but then they're gaining some life out of it.
Yeah.
But sometimes you're going to want to just target stuff when it's not so advantageous to your opponent. Because the other thing to remember is Ygra, in a way, is going to stacks the board if your opponents know that you can destroy their stuff, like repeated destruction. Things like Royal Assassin.
Yep.
And there's a few like that. Visara the Dreadful, Avatar of Woe. These things, they tap and destroy a creature. It's not artifact related, but it just puts people under pressure because then they're like, well, if I attack, then my thing is tapped and it'll get destroyed, and then I can't sacrifice it for the food. So maybe I'll hang back a bit.
So maybe a
Um,
royal assassin.
yeah,
I I feel like we've got a lot of ability to blow artifacts up. So I think like things rather than the royal assassin. I think holding up instants like your naturalizes, your wilts, those kind of things. I think they're going to go farther in this deck because they're going to double
okay,
up our removal, right?
yeah. The thing is to remember as well. Like if you're going to do targeted removal, then if the opponent does the food sack, then you could lose any other potential effect you might get with that. Um, so you have to be a little careful with that. So multi-targeting makes sense, or repeated targeting.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think there's another very good. It's not super wide like board wipe style, but it's multi-target removal. That's right down our alley, called Pest Infestation.
love pest infestation.
Yeah. So Pest Infestation, for people who are not familiar with it, it's X, X, and a green. So you kind of have to pay in even manner for that. Um, destroy up to X target artifacts and or enchantments. It's a sorcery, so you can't do this at instant speed, but I think it's okay. And then its other side is create twice X 1/1 black and green pest creature tokens with when this creature dies, you gain 1 life. So the cool thing about this is, let's say you put, I think we can conservatively say, we'll put 11 mana into this. So if X is 5, you destroy up to 5 target artifacts and or enchantments, and then you create twice X. X is 5, so 10 pests. So those pests now count as food for us. So we get a whole bunch of creatures out of that. They also gain 1 life when they die. And if we sacrifice, we gain 3 plus that 1. So we get extra life out of that, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. I so I have a pest infestation. I threw it into our token generators, but it is still great removal. I did like I said, I never really play many instants and sorceries, but in a deck like this, I've got to run those mass wipes to threaten. So I added two
Yeah.
in. One is Fade from History, two double green. Each player who controls an artifact or enchantment creates a 2/2 green, then destroy all artifacts and enchantments. That's going to make Ygra again huge, another big threat. Because again, I feel like we don't really care if they sacrifice their foods. We just want Ygra to be bigger. Oh, I feel like a Rogue's Passage has to go in the deck.
Oh, definitely.
Now that I'm thinking about it, I was like, yeah, like we can just smash people with it, but let's get Rogue's Passage into that list. And then the other one I threw was Rampage of the Clans, a nice instant, 3 and a green. You destroy all artifacts and enchantment. For each permanent destroyed this way, its controller creates a 3/3 green centaur. So again, they're going to be more new food for us, but it's going to give us that full instant speed board wipe if people are getting a little out of hand.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the instant speed stuff. That's pretty good.
Let's um let's look at a little bit of more removal. How about a this is it's a little bit of a slower one to get going, but I think it's gonna hit both of the things we want. I'd like to add in a Frailise. Frailise has really come
Ah,
down
yes.
in price.
Mm.
Frailise
Yeah,
is
she's
3 double
awesome.
green. Yeah. +2, you create a 1/1 green elf druid creature with tapped add a green, so it's ramping us. -2, destroy target artifact or enchantment, so it's going to hit a ton. -6, a big draw engine, draw a card for each green creature you control. I think that that's going to hit a lot of spots that we need.
100%.
Let's throw that over into our token generators. It's the more I brew with different people and stuff, the more I value, like especially with how Sherman builds, the more I really value having cards that fill more than one spot at a time. I'm usually pretty like simple thinking in my mind of like, okay, well, I want to like I build like a caveman a lot of the time. I want to do one thing and one thing only, and I get blind tunnel vision into that. And both you and Sherman are really good at adding additional pieces of like this will do this instead, and it can also be good for this. You guys think your decks through much more than me.
Yeah, it's those cross synergies that really get the most out of the commander.
Yeah,
Um, like, I can give you a very good example. It's not removal, but like one of the things we need with our commander is trample, and we obviously want to make lots and lots of creatures. So, Scepter of Celebration. Um, it's 2 and a green for an artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +2/+0 and has trample. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, create that many 1/1 green and white citizen creature tokens. Its
love it.
equip cost is 3.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So Yeah, I think things like this, like we probably don't need that many equipments. I know um, some people go, ah, let's do full on Voltron and then dump a bunch of enchantments and equipments in. But I think we can be a bit sparing here because Ygra builds herself or itself real big. And um, what I like about this is you now turn those 1 1 +1 +1 counters now into creature tokens, and all of those things, if they die or you sacrifice them, it's more life, it's more counters, it just gets bigger and bigger. So it's this ridiculous scenario going on. And if you're giving unblockability with the Rogue's Passage, then well, what are people gonna do?
Yeah. Do we want to shut our? Do we want to be mean? Do we want to shut the ability for them to use their creatures off with like a collector oof kind of thing?
I thought about that, and I don't like that. I
You
think
think
it'll
it's
be
mean?
better if we give people. There's this guy Ryan Macbeth. He talks about military stuff in Americas and whatever, and he says when you're going to war, don't create problems, create dilemmas. So by us giving our opponents lots of choices, it makes it harder for them to make good decisions. So I think if we shut off a lot of their decisions, it makes it a bit more focused for our opponents and easier for them to find lines to beat us. Let's rather give them way too many choices, make everything have those abilities, let them use them. I think it's fine because we're going to get a lot out of that. If you want to kind of shut them off, what you do in this case is you let them sacrifice their creatures so that they still get something when you're doing a removal, but we make them exile the creature so it doesn't go to the graveyard. It's just gone.
Yeah.
So there's some cards, the mono black Shelob that can do this kind of stuff. If we go Snowlands, we could go with that one from what's that? The snow set. But it's basically creatures your opponents control. When they die, they get exiled, and then you can cast them using snow mana as any color mana.
Oh, I like that
But
one.
yeah, the one that I actually like the most is from your favorite set, Strixhaven.
I love
So I don't
Strixhaven
know.
so
Do
much.
you want to give it a guess?
I don't know this one. I don't play much. I don't play much like I don't play black and mini decks. That's just kind of not my go-to one.
It's a Dean.
A Dean.
Yeah, it's a MDFC Dean.
Oh,
So
I know the name, but it's he's wearing like a hood on yeah, I know which one, but I can't
yeah,
think of it.
yeah. So I'm just gonna uh, get the name quick because I don't remember the full name either. So I'll try to write it down.
While you find this one here,
Um,
I threw a wave of vitriol in here. I feel like at least if I feel like this is my last group hate artifact one. It's 5 double green. Each player sacks all artifacts, enchantments, and non-basic lands they control. For each land sacked this way, its controller goes for a basic land and puts it on the battlefield tapped, and each player who searched this way shuffles. I feel like when you said like give them dilemmas and stuff, at least this way, like I always say, it's group hug, right?
yeah, yeah,
We're helping ramp the table at this point.
yeah. It's awesome. Yeah. Okay, so I got the name
Okay,
Valentin.
Valentin,
Valentin.
yes.
Yeah, Dean of the Vein, and both sides are relevant. So the front side Valentin is the one that does the when your opponent's creature dies, you can pay a cost, you exile a creature, but you get a pest, which is great. But if you need the opposite, you can play Lizette, Dean of the Root, and she gives a bit of an overrun, so she can give your creatures trample. So when you gain life, then you convert that into like pump and trample. So that's actually really, really strong.
Yeah, I like this. And yeah, Lisette's also not a bad cost. Whenever you gain life, you can pay one. So we can do that hard, and it's a 1/1 counter. Do we want to double our 1/1 counters up at all with something like a hardened scales, even just a easy one drop to double that commander's up, or are we not really going heavy enough into
Well,
counters?
I I have a feeling that So one of the things I look out for when I'm building decks is it's very easy to, and one of my university lecturers kept saying that he loved saying it. Hopefully, we don't get demonetized, but um, sometimes you're doing something and it's like trying to kill a mosquito with an AK-47.
That's fair.
It's
Yep.
like it's too much power, and we don't really need that much power. I think what we'll find with Ygra is Ygra will grow real fast, real quick, and we need to rather focus on putting some protection in there, make sure that Ygra doesn't die. Otherwise, our efforts are kind of lost, or have contingencies for if someone tries to destroy Ygra, then we do something and we still get value out of it.
Yep. Well, let's do a like first. Let's add a little bit of because I do agree with you that maybe the 1/1 counter is not really our theme. Maybe if we were more Voltron, but let's add in a Viridian Revel.
Okay.
To Viridian Revel is, I'm pretty sure that's what I'm pretty sure I'm saying it right here. Yeah, I just can't spell. Viridian Revel is, it's 1 double green. Whenever an artifact's put into an opponent's graveyard from the battlefield, you may draw. So that does give us that little bit of, if they are sacrificing a food to target Ygra, we're always going to get a draw from it at least.
Yep.
And I feel like we need a little bit of draw. We could go the classic black route of sacrifice a creature to draw a card, but I don't like
Um,
that as much in this, right?
yeah, I think I've got like a number of food related draw creatures that, and a couple of spells, but things like Savvy Hunter.
Okay, let's add a Savvy Hunter here. What is that one?
So, Savvy Hunter is one generic, a black, and a green for a 3/3 human warrior. Whenever Savvy Hunter attacks or blocks, create a food token, and you can sacrifice 2 foods to draw a card.
I like that.
Yeah. So what I like about that is it doesn't only rely on you sacrificing your creatures. I mean, we're going to have a lot anyways. But let's say Ygra is removed and you need something, you can just use the food to draw cards. And I think that that is unlimited. As much as you got food, you can draw cards. So
Yep.
that's pretty fair.
There's
Um,
something from Lord of the Rings that lets you sack for foods as well. Am I right?
yeah, there's Peregrine Took as well.
Okay.
So that's 2 generic and a green for a 2/3 halfling citizen. And he's actually pretty good as well because he makes food. So if one or more tokens will be created under your control, those tokens plus an additional food token are created instead.
I like that one.
And and then he has the ability to sacrifice 3 foods to draw a card.
Okay, so a little more expensive, but lets us throw our command or things away. Do we want to put that into? I put it into food generators, but that's all. Like both those are kind of pseudo draw as well, right?
Yeah, yeah. I classified them as draw in
I,
my
now
list of
now that I'm
things.
looking at them, yeah, I think that draw is a better option for them because I'm going to be using them to throw the little tokens we make away
Yep.
into that draw engine.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've got another two, so
Yeah, no
we
worries.
got we got plenty on the creature side. So the other one is also one that I've been wanting to build for quite some time, and I just didn't get around to it. It's Greta Sweet Tooth Scourge. So she's a generic, a black and a green for a 3/3 human warrior. And when Greta enters the battlefield, create a food token. So again, it's kind of the pattern here. Um, her first ability is pay a green, sacrifice a food, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. So you can put it anywhere you want, which is nice. And you can only activate that as a sorcery, but it's fairly cheap, so it's not too bad. And then her second ability is the draw ability. So 1 and a black, sacrifice a food, you draw a card, and you lose 1 life.
I like that. That turns our whole strategy into every creature as a draw engine now.
Yep.
What does the new Tiny Bones do? I'm thinking here. Where is it? Tiny Bones. There's not the what's the other Tiny Bones? Am I crazy? Tiny Bones Pickpocket. So
Yeah, the original one.
yeah. No, the newer one. When it deals combat damage to a player, you can cast a non-land permanent from their graveyard and spend mana as if it was any type. Do we want to do something
Oh.
like that so we can take their creatures and start playing them a little bit?
Um, I did have some ideas around similar abilities. Another one that does something like that is Geth.
Ooh,
Um,
you never see Geth,
yeah,
Lord of the Vault, right?
he, yeah, Lord of the Vault. And then there's a new squirrel, Hazel's Brewmaster, also does the same sort of thing.
Hazel's Brewmaster. Which one is this here? So Hazel's Brewmaster. Let's read some of these ones. So Tiny Bones is 1 black. It's a 1/1 death touching skeleton rogue. Whenever Tiny Bones the Pickpocket deals combat damage to a player, you can cast non-land permanent from that player's graveyard, and mana can be any type. Geth, which is awesome. 4 double black. It's a legendary creature Phyrexian zombie with Intimidate. It's a 5/5. It has X and a black. You put target artifact or creature card with mana value X from an opponent's graveyard onto the battlefield on your control tapped. Then they mill X cards, which is also a nice way to sink our mana later if we have lots of it,
Yep,
especially with like a Knight of Sweet's Revenge. So let's
yep,
make another section, play their creatures.
yeah. Let me just check the. I've got a mono black Shelob. Um,
Oh yeah, I didn't add that Shelob in. What does Shelob do specifically?
yeah, so Shelob's a little bit weird because well, I suppose it works out. So whenever a non-token, okay, let me start from the beginning. Shelob Dread Weaver, uh, 3 and a black for a 3/3 spider demon. Whenever a non-token creature an opponent controls dies, exile it. So it dies, it hits the graveyard, it's going to trigger Ygra. So I think that's fine.
Yep,
You can pay 2 and a black to put a creature card exiled with Shelob Dreadweaver into its owner's graveyard and put 2+1/+1 counters on Shelob and then draw a card, which is not a bad thing. Um, or you can pay X 1 and a black to put target creature card with mana value X exiled with Shelob onto the battlefield tapped under your control. So Shelob gives you the ability to give your opponent's creature back, and then you draw a card, which is really nice.
yep.
Or you can just take it if it's a good creature and put it on your side. So I think that's pretty good.
Well, and it's nice because you can really incentivize people to not blow your Shalab off the board by saying, "I'll give you your creature back, don't worry," and stuff. I just want it as a draw engine, right? You can kind of leave it there. I'm not going to take your creatures. You leave my stuff alone.
Yeah,
I like it. Which section would we throw this one into? Our draw section or
I think
our
I think
play?
I'd put it in the steel
Okay,
creatures. Yeah,
play their creatures.
yeah.
Um,
Um,
we haven't
I just
added. Sorry, I was going to say we haven't added much of our targeted destruction. I want to add some of our naturalized will to that kind of stuff.
Yeah, naturalize is pretty good in this because I mean it's the green disenchant, right?
Yep.
And now I can hit a creature, so that's really good.
Wilt and I think return to nature, I think, are some really nice budget ways to give us some of what we need.
Yeah.
Let me see
Um,
here. Yeah, because
there's also
these are gonna turn into creature removal too, right?
yeah.
What's the one
There's
from
there's
Boombaro I keep forgetting?
there's one that I don't want to forget. It's to do with turning our tokens into ramp. It's Jahira.
Oh, great choice. Yep.
Yeah. It's been sitting in my mind. I need to get it
Yeah,
out.
I definitely know that and stuff. Where's
Yeah.
the? Let me put this into removal. Let's get Jahira in here.
Yeah, so Jahira is extremely powerful because all tokens, not just food, like any token becomes mana ramp essentially. So it's like a token staple. If you've got green and you've got tokens, put your hero in there because you want to turn it all into mana.
Yep. Let's what is the it's not tire it's the food tireless tracker. I'm tired today.
Um, Tireless Provisioner
That's the one. Because that's gonna make us some just passive
makes
uh
treasures
food
and
tokens,
food.
yeah.
Yeah. Or was it clues and treasures?
I think tracker is clues and this is treasure and food, yeah.
Okay.
So let's put it into our food generator.
Yeah. We could um, also put Trail of Crumbs.
Okay. Let me
So I'll read Trail of Crumbs. So it's from the first Eldraine. It's a one generic and a green enchantment. And when it enters, create a food token. Whenever you sacrifice a food, you may pay one. If you do, look at the top two cards of your library. You may reveal a permanent card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. So it's kind of like draw, pay one, draw, essentially, but you're scrying to the bottom as well. So I think it's fairly neat, and it's like sacrifice a food, get a card to replace whatever you sacrificed. If it's a token, then you're just gaining. So
I like it.
yeah,
We're sitting at 69 cards. We're not bad right now. But I think we should add some more ramp in, some more lower creatures like maybe just even some Llanowars. We haven't gone much into the black theme at all. We don't have very many black cards at all. We've got like 10 black pips in the deck so far.
sure. Yeah,
Let's
we can throw those. I mean, there's the three Lanoirs essentially. Plus, there's that I can't remember its name, but it's kind of like a Lanoir, but it's produces black mana, and you take a damage.
Elves of Deep Shadow.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, damage isn't going to really affect us very badly in this deck. Ovish Mystic. And Findhorn maybe to just
Yeah,
kind of get us because like I said, I've thrown in too much mass artifact removal that we can't rely on artifact ramp without really
yeah,
hurting ourselves. Minus
yeah,
our basically classic soul ring.
yeah. I've got another interesting one that it's 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 a kind of ramp, but worst case, it's a creature and you can sacrifice it. Honest Rachstein, or Rachstein, as we should say, probably.
Okay, what is it? Honest?
Honest Rachstein.
Oh yeah.
So, uh, a generic, a black and a green for a 3/2 human warlock. When he enters the battlefield, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. That will definitely matter in this deck.
Yep.
And creature spells you cast cost one less to cast. So everything gets cheaper.
Our cards. Yeah, I like that a lot. That does a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
I haven't
And
played
if we're gonna go that route, then some of the Phyrexian Reclamation, Haunted Crossroads type things will work very well with the deck.
Haunted Crossroads. Let's take a look at that one. Put target creature card from your graveyard on top of your library. Great recursion.
Yeah.
And lets us
It's
just throw our stuff away. Yeah.
yeah. So what's nice is because we will have a lot of card draw from sacrificing food or doing all these shenanigans. Um, if we put stuff on the top of a library, then it's okay because we can just put it straight into our hand.
Okay, I like this. We have a lot of potential life gain. We haven't really looked at too much of what we can do with our life. Is there anything we can do? Um, maybe actually, let's look at things that let us pay life.
Yeah, if we're gonna have a lot of life and a lot of creatures at the same time, then there's probably some stuff we can do around that.
Yeah.
Um, Man, I was looking at a card today, and I think I proposed it for the Wick deck we did, where you can pay X life and then your opponents lose X life, kind of thing. Maybe that's a thing to do.
Which one's that?
Um, I'll need to look it up.
Oh, I guess
Uh,
we could do the Plague of Vermin as well. Speaking of like things for life, Plague of Vermin's really up there in price, so we might take that one out after. But where is it? Starting with you, each player may pay any amount of life. Repeat it until no one does. Each player puts a 1/1 black rat creature token for each life he or she played. That's pretty decent for us, right? We can flood the board with our overabundance of life that we can get. I leave
yep.
it. I was gonna say
Now that I'm thinking about it, the pestilence things.
that's really funny.
So there's the enchantment pestilence, and then there's pestilence demon. So those are basically board wipes that hurt players, but we probably wouldn't care because we got a lot of life, and it's going to kill everything and force everything to die. So Ygra is going to be so big it won't die.
Yep.
So yeah,
1 damage to each creature and player. Yeah, that's that also gets massive token decks away from us.
yep.
Yeah, I like that. Let's do. Let's. I'm gonna put this into a drain category because it's a great way to just throw our mana in. There's a card that lets. Oh, I'm scrolling through things to pay life. There's one I just found. Bone Cash Overseer. That looks great in this list. Let me read this one. So, Bone Cash Overseer is 1 black mana for a Squirrel Warlock, 1/1. Tap, pay 1 life, draw a card. Activate only if 3 or more cards left your graveyard or if you've sacked a food this turn. I like this in our draw section.
Hmm. Yeah, I found the card that I was looking for.
Okay.
It is a little limited because it's got an X cost in its mana as well. Um, Bond of Agony. Pay X and a black, and it's a sorcery speed. But as an additional cost to pay Bond of Agony, pay X life. So there's not many decks where this is going to work very well. I mean, the art is pretty ridiculous.
That's really cool, yeah.
But each other player loses X life. So we can really leverage our life and mana with this, especially if it's tokens and we got a Jahira or we've made all our food into mana things. So yeah, this could be like one of those big win situations.
Yeah. Do we have to,
Uh,
in that, I think we have to tap the X as well, right?
yes, yes.
Okay, but
And
still.
alternatives maybe Marionette Master.
Yeah, those are great ones. Marionette. Master and Apprentice, I'd say.
What does the apprentice do?
I think the Apprentice is just a smaller
Uh,
version of it.
so it's more like a Zulaport or whatever, but it hits each opponent. Yeah. Okay. Creature or artifact you control spawns your graveyard from the battlefield. Each opponent loses 1 life. Yeah. So it's only your side. So it might be a bit difficult. Like if you're doing a board wipe, then maybe this is okay. But yeah, it might be a bit tricky.
Marionette's only our side. Okay, so let's remove that because that's not hurting. That's not really what we're doing. Is Marionette whenever?
Mm.
That's Marionette's also whenever. Hmm. Yeah, I think we leave that one out too, just for now. Let me see. There's a commander, and you can, when cards die, you can pay life equal to their cost to play it. And I'm trying to think what it is, but I can't think of it.
Tell me the
It's a
thing again.
it's a black commander, something warlock. It's MTG warlocks. Let me see if I can figure what it is.
Is it the?
It's not
Wait, that,
Ashcoat. It is. Come on, brain, you can do this. Like I said, I'm pretty sure it's a mono black that lets us get all of our cards back. Do we want to put a Guillaume in the deck now that I'm looking at it?
yeah, will fit definitely.
Sack of food, target creature gains indestructible till end of turn. Yeah, that's pretty good for us. Why are all these food cards so expensive?
Hmm.
They gotta stop making food so great.
Well, there's Lorcan Warlock
That's the
Collector.
one, yes. Lorcan.
Okay.
Lorcan, where is Lorcan? I'll read that one.
Warlock by name, not by type.
Oh, okay, that's probably why I couldn't find it. But my brain was getting there. It's 5 double black. It is another flyer, 6/6. Whenever creature card's put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, you can pay life equal to its mana value. If you do, put it onto the battlefield under your control. It's a warlock in addition to its other types, and if a warlock would die, exile it. So pretty decent. Lets us
Yeah.
get their stuff again for our life. We can throw their creatures away.
Hmm.
I think we take the Plague of Vermin out of the deck. Maybe we'll see to the end there. But I
Okay.
think that it's I think it's an expensive cost, it's an expensive card, and I think it's not fitting as well as we need to at that price, right? Like we're
Yeah.
$30 to get some rats. I'm sure we can come up with something better in green to get tokens, right?
Yep. Yep.
Let's
Yeah. I
just
mean,
let's remove that
Golgari
right
has
now.
so much support these days that it's like just make everything,
Yeah, right.
make all the things. Do you think there's value in Mazirek Krull Death Priest?
Whenever a player sacrifices something, it gets bigger
Put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control.
on each creature.
Yep.
Yeah, that's brutal.
Yeah. It's one of the payoffs that I was thinking about.
Yeah, I would say that's great. Whenever a player sacks another permanent, put a 1/1 counter on each creature control. Yeah, that's gonna mad buff us, especially if we have like a token synergy kind of thing. I like
Yeah.
that one a lot. Let's put this into our sacrifice payoffs, I guess, as a new category.
Yeah.
Sacrifice
Um,
payoffs.
I kind of see that as a little bit of an overrun, or like anthems. Um,
Do we wanna do that as buff the board?
yeah, buff the board's a good way to put it.
Okay, buff the board.
Yeah, because like the Dragon Throne does the same thing essentially.
Yeah, we'll get
Um,
Dragon Throne over into buff the board as well. Okay. Yeah, taking that one out, like I said, I felt better looking at the price. We're back down to around $150 at 80 cards. We're not horrible here.
do you want me to give you a very silly card?
Always.
Nature's Revolt.
Nature's Revolt. What do we got going on here? So, Nature's Revolt is an enchantment. What does it do? Yeah, I like this a lot. Yeah, three double green. All lands are 2/2 creatures that are still lands, so this is giving us a nice people are going to be a lot more afraid to board wipe if their lands are in play and their lands become foods for us to devour.
Oh yes.
I like this.
And if you want to be even more silly, then you put Eudora in as well.
Oh yeah, that's the one that
So,
flips everything into into lands, right?
yeah, so when your creatures, your non-token creatures die, then they come back as a forest, which happens to be a creature. So
I
it's
like
kind of
this.
silly.
I'm putting Eudora
It's probably a
into.
combo in some manner, but
I think I'm going to put Eudora into our ramp section, I'd say.
yeah, we could do that because when we sacrifice a creature, maybe it's getting someone's trying to remove something. You just bring it back.
Let's get an Alanor in the deck. I really like playing Alanor in Meridoc and Pippin, the very legal deck I love to play. Alanor Gardener is 3 double green for a 2/4. When it enters, we're creating a food. At the beginning of your end step, if you sack a food, you may search your library for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. That lets us throw our creatures away for some ramp if we need them.
Yep.
So let's put that into our. I would call that ramp, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Um, White of the Reliquary.
Okay.
I just have a feeling like we're gonna need a lot of RAM with
What
this
is this?
deck.
Yeah, I assume people are gonna, but again, having to sacrifice to even target our commander is pretty rough. So it's 1 green, 1 black for a 2/2. When it gets 1/1 for each creature card in your graveyard, so it could be big. Sack another creature, search your library for a land. Yeah, that's great ramp.
Yeah. And the cool thing is, if we're making all those tokens, pests or whatever, then why not?
Yeah, an easy thing to throw away.
Hmm.
Let me see. What I'm gonna see if there's stuff that pays off for whenever creatures die.
Well, Grave Pact.
1 sec here. Let's look at for whenever an opponent sacrifices first and see if we can find anything fun there. Whenever a player sacrifices cards, let me do a quick scroll through, see if there's anything for us. Bloodbriar, no. The I the the group hug squirrel's crazy. It's just so crazy. How about Carmelia? Other squirrels have
Yeah.
menace. Whenever you sack one or more foods, you create a squirrel and then pay 2 forage. Put a 1/1 counter on each squirrel you control.
Yeah, it's a. I was thinking about it, but it's one of those ones that kind of focuses around squirrels, and so
I guess
might not
I guess
synergize
if we
just
wanted to
well.
make if we wanted to do a squirrel synergy, we could do Chatterfang, right? Like that's
Yeah,
the you know what I mean, like and
yeah. I
use
mean,
that as the token
they brought
generator.
out that squirrels deck in the Bloomborough. So there's the Acorn Brothers or whatever.
Yeah.
So there's a very squirrel focused build. You can go Chatterfang if you want to, or you can go the more friendly, not as combo-y version as well. So
No, I like this. I'm just trying to look. I don't think there's anything. Maybe a Savra. Whenever you sack a black creature, you can pay 2 life. If you do, each other player sacks a creature. Whenever you sack a green creature, you can gain 2 life. I think that could work pretty good for us
yeah,
because that's turning our potential food sacrifice into 5 life gain, which is enormous.
yep. Um, I actually put Liliana Death's Majesty as an option.
Okay. Let me sacrifice payoffs. Just making a category here. So Death's Majesty.
Yep.
Okay. Death's Majesty.
Yeah. So I'll read her for people who aren't familiar. So she's a Planeswalker, 3 and 2 black. Her loyalty is 5. If you +1 her, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token and then mill 2 cards. If you -3 her, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. That creature is a black zombie in addition to its other colors and types. And then her -7 is destroy all non-zombie creatures. So what I was thinking with her is if Ygra gets destroyed and you have her in your hand, maybe what you want to do is let Ygra go to the graveyard. So when you play her, you immediately resurrect Ygra, and then now Ygra is a zombie as well. And then you uptick her a few times and then destroy all non-zombie creatures. And it's the same type of effect, right? You blow up all the other creatures, Ygra gets really big, and then you attack with it. So it's
True, yeah.
kind of like a board wipe, but also resurrection, and it's making food because of the black zombies.
Okay. I like this. Let's add the new bat in. I think it's Star Sky Cleric, or let me see, Starscape Cleric. Nice little 59-cent card. It's got our offspring on it. It's a 2/1 bat with flying. Offspring for 2 and a black. Can't block. Whenever you gain life, each opponent loses a life. Put this into our drain section.
It works very well with pests.
Yeah. Yeah, those pests really, really will hurt people that way.
Yep. You sack it, you get 3 life and 1 life. So trigger.
Do we want to do a
And if
Dina
there's
as
two,
well for that similar effect? Another, like you said, I do love Strixhaven. Dina Soul Steeper
yeah,
is 1
we can
black,
do
1
that.
green. Dryad Druid 1/3. Whenever you gain life, each opponent loses a life. Lets you sack a creature. Dina gets XO until end of turn, where X is a sacrifice creature's power. I think you could kind of get a sneaky kill by throwing Ygra away if you really need it.
Yeah, that's true.
It could be a funny way to get through a kill if you throw your Ygra away to bash someone with Dina, the little 1/1 that they aren't expecting to block.
Yep.
Hmm.
So another bit of a sort of synergy option could be Kamal Fist of Krosa. There are the two Kamals. The one is just ridiculously expensive. This, in terms of mana value, this one's a bit more reasonable. It's I think it's 4 and 2 green, and it's got 2 relevant abilities for us. The one can turn our lands into creatures, and we could then sacrifice the land and um, uh, get benefit from that. But the other ability is basically overrun. So you pay 3 and a 2 green, and then your creatures get +3/+3 and trample. And I think being able to give trample like that is quite valuable in this build.
I agree. The fact that we can do it to other people's lands too, right? Again, further threatening that board wipe.
I did not think of that. That's actually a very good point.
Yeah, we can make them food as well too, right? So
Oh yeah.
it does really hurt them. It gives us into that same turn them into food artifacts. I like that a lot. I threw it in our buff the board, but we do have the ability to threaten them.
Yep.
Let me see what else we're thinking here.
How about Nuka-Cola vending machine?
Let me see. Cola. Nuka-Cola vending machine. I like it. It's good, create a food token, but it's an expensive piece. Whenever you sack a food, create a treasure. I think because we're right down here near the end, we're at 90 cards. I think we
Ah,
focus some of these strategies up a little more if we need to, you know?
okay.
So
That's fair.
let's see what we have for each strategy before we get into this here. Where's all of our removal stuff first off? So I think we might need a little more targeted removal. We're playing with like 3 pieces, which that's how I build, but
Yeah. Um,
let's take a look because we've got mass removal. We're pretty good on the mass removal part.
wear down.
Is that
There's a
the Bloomborough one?
Yeah. So there's a few of these. I like these more versatile spells. They're a little bit more expensive, but you get choices. You can pick multiple things.
Yep.
Um, so wear down. There's season of lost, season of gathering, and you can choose whether you want to remove stuff or if you want to maybe draw a card or do something else.
Season of Gathering, I think, is great because we can, what's it called? We can really, really draw pretty crazy with our commander, how big it is.
Yep.
And destroy all permanents of the chosen type does make it huge. They resolve top to bottom, right? So even if we hit that 2, destroy all non permanents, all artifacts, then we're getting like a draw 20 if we need.
Yep.
I love the season cards so much. And then what's the other one? Season of.
Gathering
I
with
got Gathering.
season
What was
of
the other
loss.
one?
Loss.
Loss. Okay.
Yep.
What was our Season of Loss here? Each player sacks creature. That's brutal. Draw a card for each creature you control that die this turn. Yeah, that's great. I'm gonna put that in removal because that's a huge piece of removal for us, and that will trigger our commander.
Yep.
Each player sacks 5 creatures. Yeah, that makes our commander huge. I like that one a lot. I hate this stupid visual search thing that keeps popping up here. Where is my recur our cards? Okay. Okay, so we've got some good recursion. We've got our token generators. I'd say our ramp looks pretty solid. We've got a pretty huge ramp package, 13 cards in it so far. Let's get a... I say we get a little more ramp in it, just a little bit. Let's get a Farseek in.
Yep. That can work. I'm just thinking there's actually another green card. Man, where did I put it? I can't remember its called, but it's basically if you have a creature die, it's 1 green mana ramp. But
If you have a creature die.
yeah, I think it's sorcery speed. But yeah, I bought a card recently. I can't remember what its exact name is. Um,
Do we want to throw this Hazel in for another piece of maybe ramp? Pay 2 life, tap X on tap tokens, add X mana, but I guess we're not specifically just tokens. I say we leave that one out.
yeah,
Like you said, that's more of a squirrel theme.
yeah. Um, there is Thorn Vault Forager, but that's also again, it's like it's interesting because it's got 3 abilities. So Thorn Vault Forager, generic and a green for a 2/2 Squirrel Ranger. You can tap it to produce a green mana, or you can tap it to forage and add 2 mana in any combination of colors, which can be relevant. And then its last ability is uh, you pay 3 and a green, tap it, and search your library for a squirrel card, reveal it, and put it into your hand, and then shuffle. So I don't think we've got many squirrels in the deck, but it can still act as a bit of advantage. And there is one other squirrel which I don't think we put in, Ravenous Squirrel, which can act as draw, where we're sacking food to draw stuff.
Okay. I like the one. So what was that other one? Ravenous?
Ravenous Squirrel. Yeah. It's just you can pay a green or a black mana for a 1/1 squirrel. Whenever you sacrifice an artifact or a creature, put a +1/+1 counter on Ravenous Squirrel, and you can pay a generic, a black, and a green to sacrifice an artifact or creature. You gain 1 life and draw a card.
Yeah, I like that.
Yep.
That's decent. I'd like to throw Collective Resistance in here. Collective Resistance is just another piece of removal for the list here. It's an instant. It has Escalate of 1 green. It's 1 and a green to cast. You choose 1 or more. Destroy target artifact, target enchantment, or target creature gains hexproof and indestructible. So a little bit of save our commander, a little bit of removal. Pretty big toolbox, I would say.
Yeah.
Um, I think maybe some. What are we? We're sitting at 97 cards. Let's try find something that gets us a little bit of a payoff, or yeah, like maybe a. Let's do maybe a Tear Asunder, exile target artifact or enchantment as an instant. And then it has a kicker. You could do target non-land permanent instead, but for us, that's still going to hit pretty much everything we
Um,
need.
I'd I'd go for destroy over exile.
Oh, because we want into the graveyard. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's do. I did want to put this one in. I keep forgetting about it. A Curious Herd.
Oh yes, that's pretty good.
Yeah, choose target opponent. You create X 3/3 green beast, where X is the number of artifacts they control. I think that's a pretty solid token generator for us.
Yep. And I think it's instant speed, isn't it?
Yep, instant speed, 79
Yeah.
cent card. Lovely. Okay, we've got room for 2 more cards. I wonder what to put in. Do we want to do a Return of the Wild Speaker?
Oh, that's for card draw or pump.
Yeah, right?
Yep.
Because our
Yeah, we can do
commander
that.
gets pretty big, and then maybe I was gonna say maybe a Rishkar's Expertise. Return of the Wild Speaker.
Yeah, I don't usually play risk card, but I mean it's a good card and you get to cost something extra. But
Just because
uh,
just because we get that ability to get the big draw if we need to, right? Like we draw a lot. I think we have a lot of draw though.
yeah, I think that. I mean, if we want to improve the reliability of the deck, maybe we put a dig up in it.
Dig up.
Yeah.
What's this one?
So dig up, you can pay 1 green and search your library for a basic land card and reveal it. Put it into your hand. So it's just like just get a land.
Great piece of yeah
Um,
ramp. Yeah,
or you can cleave it for a colorless, 2 black, and a green, and you just get any card in your hand.
so a nice late game tutor, early game ramp if we need it.
Yeah.
Okay, just trying to think. Maybe let's do a. We've got some artifacts and stuff. I'm gonna toss a Plumb the Forbidden in here. A nice way to throw our stuff away later on. It's an addition. As an additional cost, you can sack one or more creatures. When you do, you copy it. You draw a card, you lose a life. But we don't really care about losing life that much.
Yep.
Put this into some of our draw. Let's see what we're sitting at. We're at 101 cards. So let's shore our pieces up and see kind of what we're thinking.
Yeah.
Because I like how this list is looking so far. We've got a pretty rough list actually to fight into. Maybe we
Yeah.
don't need
There's
that
a
Plumb the
lot of
Forbidden.
advantage.
Yeah, I'm gonna because us throwing those away, that doesn't matter as much. Do we want to throw in is Old Shoulder expensive right now?
Uh, I don't know. I
It's like
mean, they did reprint it, so
it's like $17, but it's giving us creatures
yeah.
from your
I mean,
battlefield.
if we're
Nah.
looking at that kind of forced sacrifice stuff, there's also it's a thing. It's a slug, Molder slug.
Yeah. Hmm. I'm just looking, so I'm going through our lists here. I'm trying to think, what are we missing? We've got pretty good buff. Our commander's huge. We can get our commander through. I say we bring our land down to give us 1 more card because I'm greedy. Oh, and we have a modal face. I say we bring it down 2 cards.
Yeah. So there's a few modal face type lands that I would recommend.
Okay.
Um, so we can increase our spell density a bit further. One is Malakir Rebirth,
Okay. Malachor Rebirth, yep.
and then
Is.
another one is so Malakir Rebirth. It's just one of those cheap pay one black. If a creature would die, it then comes back to the battlefield, usually tapped.
I like that.
And then it's like you lose 2 life or something, but it doesn't matter.
But
Um,
a nice piece of recursion.
yeah. And then there's, I think you've already put Balagid Recovery, right?
Yeah, Balaged's in the deck, also in
Yeah.
recursion.
We could do Agadim's Awakening.
Agadeem's isn't too bad.
Yeah. It can get a little difficult to cast because it's got the X and then there's terms and conditions. Um,
Let's check out Agadeem's here. Uh, I say we skip the Agadeems. Again, a pricey thing. It would bring up it for sure.
yeah.
But maybe instead of that, how about like a Coiling Rebirth? It's not a modal one, but it's 3 double black. You gift a card, return target creature from your graveyard to the battlefield. Then, if it was promised and the creature isn't legendary, you get a 1/1 copy. I think Coiling Rebirth could be kind of nice on this one.
I would suggest instead of that, because that's a bit expensive. It's a lot of mana.
Yeah, true.
Journey to Eternity.
Journey to Etern.
Yeah, because it's not really. Uh, it is MDFC, but it's not really like you can't put the land out. It has to flip into the land, but it only costs 3 to get it out. Um, and it enchants onto a creature which you can immediately sacrifice. So basically, when the creature dies, I think it comes back, and then the Journey to Eternity flips into a land. So it produces colorless mana, or you can pay. I think it's pay 5, so 3 green and a black, and you can bring a creature from your graveyard to the battlefield.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I
Yeah,
like that one.
that's very useful.
Um, I'm just looking here. That's the one that I'm looking for. Inspiring Statuary. I think that's a great piece to possibly end us off there. Non-artifact creatures you cast, non-artifact creature spells you cast have improvise, so it turns all of our creatures into basic convokers.
Okay.
I like this one a lot for ramp.
Yeah, that can work.
So one
That can
second,
definitely help.
you don't like this? You don't like this Coiling Rebirth? It's just because it's expensive, or
Yeah, because we're already like hitting the sort of spell density. And I'm just a little worried that it might be like, I mean, if we play all the ramp plans, maybe it'll be possible. Um,
I think we're looking pretty good with our ramp stuff, but again, the looking at it, what creature do we want to bring back and make a copy of, right? Like most of our creatures that I want back are Mazarek, they're Kamal, Guillaume, right? They're gonna be our legendary creatures already, right?
yeah,
Maybe a copy of a Tender Shoot could be good, but I think that there's better ways to do that for like a Bramble Sovereign replaces that whole piece and just lets us play 2 to copy whatever creature we want, right? So there's I
yeah,
think there's better spots in it. I think you're right for how much it does. Hmm. I don't like the Grave Pact idea. I think that one's a little
yeah.
too rough.
That's fine. Yeah,
How about what if we add in Awakening Zone as like another token generation? It's going to give us token, it's going to give us early mana.
okay. Yeah, I can see that working.
I like that. It plays into a few of the strategies here. Where did that
Yeah,
enchantment section go? So Awakening Zone, we'll put that into, I'd say, ramp.
Yeah.
And then I've got to find something to remove for it because we're at 101. You is there anything you're unhappy with in the list? Like what do you think we're
Well,
missing?
if there's what's like the most expensive thing, like either money wise or just mana.
Yeah, because we're at a $200 deck. Most of our sections are pretty cheap. Our mass wipes are 27 bucks. Our buffs are $2. Our creatures right now are 21 bucks. What's expensive in our creatures? Guillaume. But Guillaume's pretty good. But let's look. Yeah, our drain's like $3. That's a great section. I'm gonna put Liliana into recur. Like our ramp is great, 40 bucks. I'm pretty happy with most of it. I think maybe we throw Guillaume.
Okay.
Beginning of your end step, create a number of foods. You a number of non but it does give us so many foods. I maybe we leave
Yeah.
him. Maybe we take out
So
Lorcan. We've got
okay.
enough stuff that lets us play their cards, and Lorcan
Yeah. Yeah.
is a 7 mana.
Yeah.
I think that
And
brings us down into
I
better.
feel like so much stuff is going to be dying as well that um, yeah, we probably won't have time to put them out. So
Yeah, I like this more. The the payoffs all look like they go together. There's a few things I don't have organized yet. So let's look. Journey to Eternity we want to put into recursion, right?
yep.
Okay. So let's just shore our lists up a little bit. Like I said, I think the deck goes good. I think that we're both still a little underestimating how big Ygra will get and how fast.
Yeah, but that's why we. I mean, if we think that we need to make more trample or unblockable stuff, then there are options. Whisperspill Cloak, for example, that can make sure that we throw her through. But I think it's also okay if we just have a big Ygra and we attack somebody and they have a blocker and they have to block.
Yeah.
So that kind of pressure is still okay.
I'm looking at let's throw in some lands that make a little more sense. Like I really I can't get enough of the desert lands. I think the black one is festering something. Festering Gulch, does that sound right?
That rings a bell.
Yes.
Um,
All right. So let's move that one down.
Restless Cottage
Okay. Restless Cottage.
and the Shire as well.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Shire makes food, so
Oh, the Shire makes foods?
yeah.
Okay. Whoops. Can't spell it all. I spelled something totally different. Yeah, that's exactly how we'll phrase it. Enters tapped unless you control a legendary tap and untap creature you control, create a food. Love it. We gotta move one of our lands here. Move a swamp down. Like I said, I think we're sitting pretty good. We've got a lot of good removal pieces. 6 times as many as I actually put in decks normally. Nature's Revolt. What section do we want to put that in?
um, man, I don't even know
I
what to
leave an
call that.
enchantment, yeah. And then Trail of Crumbs is a food generator.
Yeah, it's kind of advantage to card draw.
You like that one? Draw more? Okay.
Because it's I think it only makes you one food when it comes in, but it like you every time you sack a food, then you can get a card.
Yeah, true. Okay, so I'll move that over there. Provisioner generates. Guillaume is a food generator. A decent food generator, actually. And he protects our commander. Hazel's, let's Foods you control. That's wicked. I didn't even read that one. The Brewmaster. I can't remember who read it, so
Yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna read it. You just said to throw it in. It's 3 and a black for a Squirrel Warlock, 3/4 with Menace. When it enters or attacks, exile up to one target creature or one target card from a graveyard and create a food. So it's a food generator. And foods you control have all activated abilities of all creature cards exiled with Hazels. So we can exile even our Llanowar Elf and give everything tap.
It's
That's
extremely
really really good.
powerful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. I move this into our food generators as well. And that's a great target for the squirrel search. And then
Yep.
Valentian, I would say, is a token generator.
Yes. Can be token generator or
Buff the board.
the buff the board. Yeah.
Whenever you gain life, you may pay one. I would put this in buff the board. I think that that's the bet. Like that's really really strong.
Yep.
Yeah, buff the board is probably the direction I would go in more with it because that would really really hurt. Yeah, no, I like this list a lot. We've got so like I said, we're a little expensive on it. We're $220. Our commander is $17, which is a little rough.
Yep.
But I think if you take out like the Seeds of Innocence, the Guillaume, and maybe like one or two other cards, like Seeds of Innocence and Guillaume, and then maybe
Yeah, I mean,
the Tiny Bones, that's like 40,
there's
$50.
there's like 20 other cards we could put in for some of the more expensive ones. If you do a bit of research, you'll find all the cheap stuff. The rat makers,
Yeah,
they they're very cheap. Yeah, there's a whole bunch. So and there's more pest makers as well. So I mean, it's just
Woodland.
it's easy to drop the price.
Yeah, I'll throw. Even Chasm's getting expensive, but I'm putting it in anyways, and then I'll put in the
Yeah.
Temple.
If you don't care about the cost so much, then you definitely want to put in things like Field of the Dead, Forbidden Orchard.
Yeah, for
Um,
more generation.
I mean, Forbidden Orchard's a weird one. You're giving your opponents colorless spirits, but they're also artifact food. So,
I kind of like that.
yeah. Yeah. And then something that I'm still working on is like I want to put together these sort of like packages of lands that you put for a specific purpose. Like I refer to ramp lands, so lands that produce more than just one mana,
Yeah,
or they get you extra mana, like Myriad Landscape or Blighted Woodland. Those are your sort of staple. Just make one land into multiple. Um, they also work well with Field of the Dead. So
I think I want to add this card in. I'm scrolling and I'm looking at things. I was looking at sacking. So, Rootcast Apprenticeship is 3 and a green. It's a sorcery with modes. You choose three. You can choose the same more than once. You put 2/1 counters on target creature, which is good for our commander. Create a token that's a copy of target token you control, which again is okay for us. Target player makes a green squirrel, so we can use it to make 3 green squirrels if we need, or target opponent sacks a non-token artifact.
yep,
I think that's a great piece of token generation removal. I think it
yep.
gives us a
It's
lot.
very versatile as well. So yeah.
Yeah, and let's we got to take one card away for that. Hmm.
So something that just does one thing, you can swap for this, but um, maybe because I don't have the deck list in front of me actually.
Okay. Oh, have you
But
just been have you just been going off no deck list?
yeah,
Oh wow.
so it's the chat failed to load the messages, so I've just been sitting here
Oh,
trying to remember everything.
that's really funny.
Yeah, but it's okay. Like um,
That's
something equivalent
a good
casted
memory.
that's in one of the maybe one of the removal pieces, or like we do need to have a at least for instant speed. Um,
Think
Even one of those repeating ones, maybe even Royal Assassin, you could replace with this because it's still going to get you a lot of value.
I don't even know if I got Royal Assassin in the list of initially. I don't think it even made it in.
Okay.
I don't think it's even in the removal. I like the instant speed removal pieces. I think those are really good.
Yep.
Um,
But I mean, this is doing so much stuff. It creates tokens. It
do we want to swap the Bond
removes
of
things.
Agony? Bond of
Tell
Agony
me
is
what.
pretty good, but we've got to dump. But we also have a lot of. I think we dump Bond of Agony. I think
Yeah, we
Exsanguinate
don't
would
need
be
Bond
better.
of Agony.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Bond of Agony will dump that one. Again, we're still right around 224. I think it's not a horrible list. I'll cobble together as well for like the show notes when we eventually get to it. I'll cobble together just a quick budget version and cut a few of the expensive pieces out. But this looks like a really fun to play deck. I'm glad that you chose Ygra to be like the first one because it just does a lot. It does a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. The other calamities are going to be a little bit more challenging. Maybe simpler to build because they're more focused, but it's always nice to start with a multicolor.
Yeah. Well, and the like you said, the other ones are I'm gonna build the snake, regardless of it being legendary or not. It's happening.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna use Coiling Rebirth to make copies of it and try gaslighting everyone into be like, it's not legendary. It doesn't die to legend rule. Please,
Of course.
please let me have this. But yeah, I think like I said, I like this deck list. What do we want to put Steel Hellkite into? Removal?
Yeah, it's semi board wipe. It's so removal is fine.
Yeah, there we go. And then our lists look nice. We've got a few little pieces at drain. We've got decent card draw on it.
Yeah, this is one of those like you'll find when you play this. There's so many different ways that things happen, and you'll always be flush with cards and tokens and creatures. It's going to be loaded.
With the huge draw things we have, I keep looking at it and being like, should we put a reliquary in? One Return of the Wild Speaker where I draw 15 cards. I don't know. But
I don't think we need to do that.
I don't think it's as worth, but my brain's like, well, it could be. No, I
Yeah, there's things we can do, but should we do them?
right. I like I said, I'm a big fan of this. I'll throw this into grid and I'll just scroll the list as we do our outro talk of it. But yeah, like I said, the Ygra just does seem like it is gonna do a lot. We've got some pretty big pieces of artifact hate. Season of Gatherings, not artifact hate. What are we talking about? I guess it is artifact hate. It does blow them all up. All right. Okay. We've got the big buff. The Dragon Throne comes in pretty clutch. It can make all of our little tokens
It'll be
basically
ridiculous.
out of the blue, like 40/40.
Man, you can imagine when Ygra's like a 2020 already, and then you make all your little 1/1 pests into 21/21s with trample.
Yeah,
It's just ridiculous.
I love the pest tokens. Yeah, most of our sections are pretty cheap. Like we've got, like I said, a few pieces that are a little expensive, but the vast majority of it's pretty good. Malika Rebirth's like $9, but no one's paying $9 for Malika Rebirth. I'm sure everyone has them kind of kicking around. I just collected so many of those. Yeah, no, I like this list. I think that your commander's going to get targeted a lot, but that ward sacrifice of food is really
That's still, I
harsh.
think, worth it. And we've got recursion stuff, so even if the commander dies, it should be fine.
Oh yeah, well, and we're pretty flush with ramp, right?
Yeah, you can just cast it again.
Whenever a food's put into a graveyard. So like Ygra does like I just love all the Bloomborough artwork where it's just like these big, huge like calamity monsters and they're like little bunnies and stuff. Like that is a big scary card, and I think the artwork fits the theme of this deck a lot. Like you are gonna get a big monster card coming at you.
Indeed.
Yeah, I say we wrap it there. I know it's late night there for you and stuff. Thank you so much for getting through it with us. I will. Oh, here we go.
Pleasure.
Yeah, there's my button. Thank you guys for getting through this one with us. I'm going to be brewing more of these. Like I said, I'm off work at the moment, so I've got extra time. So I'm hoping Thunder and a few other guests are going to be on doing more stuff like this. If you like it, like, share, subscribe. It really does help us out. Come over to Twitch when we are doing these. I'm going to stream some Twitch arena games. I might even do that after this. Who knows? Definitely, if you want to come brew decks with us and talk decks, Patreon's a great spot to do it. Come over to Patreon, the link's in the bio. If you're building a deck like this, put it in AI Armor sleeves. They are the best sleeves you're going to get. I can't say enough good things about them. Even if we didn't work with them as like an affiliate, I would still recommend them. They are the best sleeves I've ever used. All the Dragon Shield sleeves are just like really, really big and like poofy and my decks fall over. None of that with this. These are great sleeves. They look great. It's great company, great people. If there's anything expensive in here, go to abyssproxyshop.com, promo code IT99. You'll get a bit of a discount at checkout, which is kind of nice as well. And yeah, that's basically it. Thank you guys. Thank you so much for Thunder being here and joining us, and everyone have a great night. I give them a minute with the theme song. They get a minute with it.